We are discussing key elements of our democratic government. So what we are going to see here is some key elements that would influence the working of a democratic government, which includes the people participation, the resolution of the conflict, the equality, and the justice. So South Africa, this is the not to scale map of the world. This is India, and this is the lowermost part of Africa. This is South Africa. Now South Africa is a country that has people of several races. There are black people who belong to South Africa and white who came there to settle, and Indians, of course, who came as laborers and traders. Maya Naidu, an 11-year-old South African girl living in the town of Johannesburg, was helping her mother clear up her old boxes. She found a scrapbook full of pictures and newspaper articles. There were many pictures of a young schoolboy of around 15 years of age. When she asked her mother who the boy was, she was told that he was called Hector. You can just call it as Lovu, and Lovu, or you can call just Lovu. Now, he had been shot by the police. Maya was shocked. Why? She asked. Her mother explained that South Africa was earlier governed by apartheid laws. Apartheid means separation on the basis of race. South African people were divided into white, black, Indian, and colored races. So according to the law, these races were not allowed to mingle or mix with each other, or they are not allowed to live near each other or even to use common facilities. Maya could not believe her ears. Maya's mother sounded angry when she spoke about life under this regime called apartheid. So she told Maya that in those days of apartheid, hospitals were separate. This is the discussion going on. So hospitals were separate, and so were the ambulances. An ambulance meant for white people would always be well equipped, while those which are meant for black people were not. There were separate trains and buses. Even the bus stops were different for black and white people. So non-whites were not allowed to vote. The best land in the country was reserved for the white people, and non-whites had to live on the worst available land. Therefore, the blacks and colored people were not considered to be equal to whites. This is called racism. One black township was the southwestern township of Soweto. Hector Lovu lived here, and he and his classmates joined the protest against learning the African or Afrikaans language in school. And this was the language whites spoke. So Hector and other school students were being forced to learn this language, but they wanted to learn their own language, which was Zulu. So the South African people, or you can say police, beat up the protesters mercilessly, ruthlessly, and shot at the crowd. One of their bullets killed Hector. This was on 30th of April 1976. The African National Congress, a group of people who led the struggle against the apartheid, and their most well-known leader, Nelson Mandela, fought the apartheid system for several years. Finally, they succeeded, and in 1994, South Africa became a democratic country in which people of all races were considered equal. So let us now try to understand that a democratic government means what? That means what it means to all of us. First thing is participation. Why do we have regular elections? You have already seen, or we have already discussed about that the people make the decisions in democracy. By the people, for the people, this is democracy. So through voting in elections, people elect leaders to represent them. And these representatives, they take decisions on the behalf of the people who have elected them. So in doing so, presume that they will keep in mind the voices and interests of the people, because ultimately they are elected by those people. Now, all governments are elected for fixed periods. In India, this period is for 5 years. So once elected, government can stay in power only for that period. If they want to continue to be in power, then they have to be re-elected by the people. So this is a moment when people can sense their power in democracy. So in this way, the power of the government gets limited by regular elections. There are other ways of participation as well. Elections are usually held once in 5 years. So besides voting, there are other ways of participating in the process of government. People participate by taking an interest in the working of the government and by criticizing it whenever required. Criticizing means just criticizing. Okay, and this is healthy practice in democracy. In August 2005, when a particular government increased the money people had to pay for electricity, people expressed their disapproval very sharply. So they took out rallies and they also organized a signature campaign. The government tried to explain and defend its decision, but finally listened to the people's opinion, and they were forced to withdraw the increment in the price. So the government had to change its decision because it is responsible to the people. If people are not liking it, government has to do the way the people would want. So what approval or disapproval is discussed here? See, this is by a famous cartoonist. Not bad, one of the taps in the nearby village must be getting water. So see, there is a great line, there is a large length. So there are certain ban posters, like a poster on walls spoil the city's look. Further, many time posters are pasted on important signboards and even on road maps. All political parties should arrive at a consensus on banning posters on wall. There are certain things to take action. It is worrying to know that the tiger population of India is falling. Tigers are being hunted and killed by pokers for their skins. The government has not taken the issue of poking seriously enough. They are a part of food chain. It must take action immediately, arrest the pokers and implement the laws which are there to protect the tiger. So if this does not happen, the tiger will become an extinct animal in the next 10 years. The government must give compensation to flood victims. This is also these are all the way of participation. Just by electing in 5 years doesn't stop your duty. You have to you have to analyze the decision of the government, and if possible, you have to criticize them for their wrongdoings, because if something is wrong, you have to raise your voice against it. And if they are doing good, you have to praise them as well. So there are many ways in which people express their views and make government understand what action they should take. We just saw in the few cuttings and photographs and cartoons. So these include the dharnas, the rallies, the strikes, the signature campaigns, etc. So things that are unfair and unjust are also brought forward. Newspaper, magazines and TV, they also play a role in discussing government issues and the responsibilities. So this is a picture of protest. People are not liking something or they want something, government has to do according to that. So while it is true that democracy allows people to participate, it is also true that not all sections of people are actually able to do so. Another way for people to participate is by organizing themselves into social movements that seek to challenge the government and its functioning. Government has to be on their toes because we have elected them. Members of the minority community, Dalits, Adivasis, women, and others are often able to participate in this manner. So if countries' people are alert and interested in how the country is run, the democratic character of the government of that country will be stronger. So the next time we see a rally or you see a rally winding through the streets of our cities and towns or villages, we should pause to find out what the rally is about, who is participating in it, and what they are protesting about. This will help us to give a sense of how our government works, what are the problems and what do we want out of the government, and is the government doing the right thing, or is he taking the issues which we just know, or by knowing here, are they taking some strong measures to curb it, to solve it? The need to resolve conflict. As we saw Maya's story. In Maya's story, you read about how conflicts can often lead to violence and death, because one group decides that it is all right to use force to prevent the other groups from protesting. Now, conflict occurs when people of different cultures, religions, region, or economic backgrounds, they do not get along with each other, or when some among them feel they are being discriminated against. So people may use violent means to settle their differences, and this is what general tendency is. So this leads to fear and tension among others living in that area. The government is responsible for helping to resolve the conflicts. Let us try to know about some of the conflicts in our society and the role of the government, which has to be there, which should be there in resolving these issues. So religious processions and celebration can sometimes lead to conflict. For instance, the route of procession may lead to a conflict. The government, particularly the police, play an important role in getting them representatives of concerned communities to meet first and try to arrive at a solution. So at times there is fear that violence may erupt, with people throwing stone pelting, or trying to disturb the procession. Now the police is responsible for ensuring that violence does not take place, or if it is sparked or it has started, it has to stop. Rivers. Now rivers too can become a source of conflict between states. A river may begin in one place, flow through another, and end in the third. Now the water sharing, the sharing of water between different places that the river goes through, is becoming an issue of conflict. For instance, you might have heard about the Kaveri water dispute, and this is especially between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. The water stored in Krishna Sagar Dam in Karnataka is used for irrigating a number of districts and for meeting the needs of city of Bangalore. Now, Bangalore actually. So the water stored in Mettur Dam in Tamil Nadu is used for crops grown in the delta region of the state. So the conflict here is, the conflict arises because the both dams are on the same river. The downstream dam in Tamil Nadu can only be filled up if water is released from upstream one located in Karnataka. Therefore, both states can't get up much water as they need for people in their state. So this leads to conflict. The central government has to step in and see that a fair distribution is worked out between these two states. This is a quiet flow of Kaveri, despite being at the center of heated conflict between two states for the last 30 years. See how the conflict arises and what is the government role in solving and addressing these issues. Now, equality and justice. One of the key ideas of democratic government is its commitment to equality and justice, which is first and the foremost. Equality and justice, they are, inseparable, just inseparable. So the earlier practice of untouchability, achut, is now banned by law. This group of people were denied education, transport or medical facilities, and even the chance to offer prayers. Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, whom we have already known about, and many others like him, realized that such practice must not continue, and that justice can only be achieved when people are treated with equality, with justice. So the government also recognizes this and makes special provisions for groups within society that are unequal. For example, in our society, there is a general tendency to value and care for the boy child more than the girl child, which is still a stigma in our society. So this means that society does not value the girl and boy child equally, and this is unjust. This is what we are doing in our houses. So in this context, the government steps in to promote justice by providing special provisions that can enable girls to overcome the injustice that they are subjected to. Therefore, it is possible that the fees for girls might be waived or lowered in government schools or colleges. Special provisions are made for the girl child.